ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरो वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं सान्द्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साधवैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादा सहगणललिता श्रीशाखान्वितांश्च नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्यनामने गौरकृष्णे नमः। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिय वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। 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 Hare Krishna. As we read yesterday in this canto third of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter number 25, we saw in the first five verses, the first three verses, Shaunakadi Rishi are expressing their eagerness to Suta Goswami that we want to hear more. It is in hearing about Krishna that the true satisfaction of life lies. They also talk about mode of goodness, which is required for the practice of spiritual life. And that mode of goodness, so we discussed from first canto, third chapter, 44th verse. I've opened that verse today. Yesterday I was referring to it. So that verse is Tatra Kirtayato Vipra Viprasher Bhuri Tejasa Aham Pradhyagamam Tatra Nivistash Tadanugraha Soham Va Shravayishyami Yatha Dhitam Yathamati. Prabhupada writes in the purport, one has to learn one has to learn Bhagavatam from the representative Shukadeva Goswami and no one else. If at all one wants to see Lord Shri Krishna in the pages, there is no alternative. So he says that one should hear with rapt attention from the real person, and then he can at once realize the presence of Lord Krishna in every page. Secret of knowing Bhagavatam is mentioned here. No one can give rapt attention unless one is pure in mind. No one can be pure in mind unless one is pure in action. No one can be pure in action who is not pure in eating, sleeping, pairing, and mating. So Prabhupada writes, like as we discussed yesterday, that one has to ultimately purify one's lifestyle if one wants to have rapt attention in Srimad Bhagavatam. So, so first three verses, the Shaunaka Rishi are expressing their eagerness to hear more further about Krishna. And then fourth and fifth verse, it is given that uh, to serve Mother Devoti, Kapila Dev stays back. So Kardama Muni renounces the world, but Kapila Dev stays back. And I think that's where we stopped at verse number 5. So from verse number 6, Devahuti begins her questions with Kapila Dev. So let's see. Now the same mother Devahuti, who has been mother of Kapila Dev, we will see her taking a role of a spiritual inquirer, spiritual seeker. And although she is the mother of Kapila Dev, she actually very honestly expresses herself without any ego. That what is she looking for? So let's begin from text 6. तमासीनम् अकर्माणम् तत्त्वमार्गार्गद तत्त्वमार्गाग्रदर्शनम् स्वसुतं देवहूत्याः धातु संस्मरता धातु संस्मरति वचः anything you would like to say?
Tamasīnām karmanam
Tamasīnam akarmanam
margāvyadarṣanam
tattvamargadarshanam
svasutam devahutya
swasutam devahutyah
tu samsmarati vachah.
dhatu samsmarati vacha. Translation. When Kapila, who could show her the ultimate goal of the absolute truth, was sitting leisurely before her, Devahuti remembered the words Brahma had spoken to her, and she therefore began to question Kapila as follows. Now, this is very interesting. Brahmaji had already predicted that this conversation will take place. So, with your kind permission, we will go to the previous chapter. I think it is 3:24:12, wherein Brahmaji starts speaking to Devahuti. Very interesting few verses and very revealing actually also. So let's go there. 3:24. I think it's 12. Yeah, it's 12. ब्रह्मोवाच
ब्रह्मोवाच
त्वया मे पचितस्तात
त्वया मे क्वचिच्चित्तात
कल्पिता निर्व्यलीकृता
पिता निगदिता
यन्मे सञ्जगृहे वाक्यम्
यन्मे सगृहे वाक्यम्
भवान् मानदमानयन्.
भवान् मानदमानयन्.
So he's speaking to Kardama as well as Devhuti together. My dear son Kardama, since you have completely accepted my instructions without duplicity, so this word is highlighted by Acharya, nirvyalikita, without duplicity, which means very genuinely, very honestly. Showing them proper respect, you have worshipped me properly. Whatever instructions you took from me, you have carried out, and thereby you have honored me. So it is mentioned by Acharyas that best way to honor a father, a teacher, or a spiritual master is to carry out the instructions without duplicity, with full faith. Prabhupada writes this particular sentence. Brahma praises Kardama because he carried out the orders of the spiritual master in toto and without cheating. So Prabhupada writes that usually a conditioned soul in this world loves to cheat. So he's got these four defects. But if one genuinely serves his spiritual master by honoring his instructions, then word to word, Prabhupada uses the word to word. To honor the spiritual master means to carry out his instructions word to word. And then the spiritual success follows. The next verse, he says, sons ought to render service to their father exactly to this extent. One should obey the command of his father or spiritual master with due reference, saying, yes, sir.
Yes.
See, Prabhupada was from British era of Indian civilization, right? So they have this, no? Sir, like in American English or Australian English, they don't have this too much calling sir and
Military they do.
And military, it's a different thing. But like in general, they don't. But they're like British English is a little different than American English. So Prabhupada, many places you'll find this difference in Prabhupada's. So Prabhupada says, yes, sir. So see, what Prabhupada is telling is, without even a second thought, one should always say to the spiritual master, yes, sir. In Hindi, they say in India, so I'm just saying its translation in English. They say, you think about, focus on the translation of the instruction later on. First say yes. Even if you could not understand what he said, first you say yes. The principle is submission. Then you can ask, what did he say? It's so wonderful to hear that, this should be the submission in front of the spiritual master.
Nowadays, people say yes, but they don't even contemplate. They just say yes.
Yeah, because probably they don't have the intention of doing it.
Yeah.
Because here it says like you should have the intention of doing it. So Prabhupada writes in the purport, whatever the father and the spiritual master order should be taken without argument. Yes, there should be no instance in which a disciple of the son says, this is not correct. I cannot carry it out. When he says that, he is fallen. The father and the spiritual master are on the same platform because the spiritual master is the second father. So, His Holiness Radhanand Maharaj would tell us in Chowpatty in Pune that the day a brahmachari says no to the ashram in charge, or to the temple president, or to the spiritual master, that should be the last day of his in ashram. He should walk out because he's no longer a brahmachari. What a crystal clear. The first qualification of brahmachari is exclusive surrender to the spiritual master. That is the very definition of a brahmachari. But again writes, in any case, the order of the father or the order of the spiritual master must be carried out without hesitation. With an immediate yes, there should be no argument. That is real service to the father and to the spiritual master. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has stated that the order of the spiritual master is the life and soul of the disciple. As a man cannot separate his life from his body, a disciple cannot separate the order of spiritual master from his life. If a disciple follows the instruction of the spiritual master in that way, he's sure to become proper. So there is this devotee in India, so he would always say that, uh, like just like the shadow cannot be separated from the body. Similarly, submission to spiritual master should not be separable from a disciple. Like you cannot separate your shadow anytime. So His Holiness Bhakti Prem Maharaj was telling this devotee who was instructed by his spiritual master to go to a certain place and render service, certain temple like. So he was like not feeling so comfortable. He said it's too tough, there are a lot of challenges. So I want to go back. So Bhakti Prem Maharaj told him, it seems that if at all you have to come back, only your dead corpse should come back. And as long as you're alive, you should be disciple of your spiritual master and you stick to it. He said that is how one should worship the instruction of the spiritual master. Of course, too, I am also just trying, like I'm just sharing here in honor of Srimad Bhagavatam. So, next verse, Brahmaji says, Lord Brahma then praised Kardama Muni's 9 daughters, saying, all your thin-waisted daughters are certainly very chaste. I am sure they will increase this creation by their own descendants in various ways. So actually, good progeny usually comes from good parentage. Like they say, good fruits are laid, come from good trees. So if you want to change the world, one very important is to work on the current generation in order to get the next generation better. So, like it is even said that good brahmacharis come from good grihasthas, actually. Therefore, Both the limbs are very important. One is dependent on the other. So good parents will become Krishna conscious, like the Grihasthas will become Krishna conscious by seeing exemplary and enlightened, very hardworking, in spiritual life, very hardworking sadhus. And good sadhus come, the next generation of good sadhus come from such good parents. So it's like interdependent. So therefore, even young girls should be made Krishna conscious. It's not just because parents means like this couple, it's not just the boys. Then next verse, Brahmaji says, therefore, today please give away your daughters to the foremost of sages with due regard for the girls' temperaments and likings, and thereby spread your fame all over the universe. So Prabhupada writes that whenever a girl and a boy are married, there must be consideration on their temperaments, their likes and dislikes. So that is the whole point of Kundali match or horoscope matching. That how much of their personality matches. Prabhupada says a divine girl, a divine-minded girl should be married to a divine-minded boy, and a demonic girl should be married to a demon. So that they are happy with each other. Otherwise, if the girl is always saying, let's go to disco, let's go to bar and all that, and the boy is saying, let's go to temple, then they both will fight and have divorce. So that's what happens in today's society. They just look at the externals for a while and they just marry each other. But they don't see the temperament, the quality. They just go on the external, the figure, the complexion, and all that. So Prabhupada also writes another thing that the girls should be given in charity to saintly people, which means when you marry your daughter to someone, there you should look for the right character, the boy with the right character, not the boy with the right credit card. Which means the first qualification uh, for choosing a spouse of any of one's uh, children, like boy or a girl, should be character, should be spiritual qualification, not material qualification. Then the next verse, Brahmaji says, O Kardama, I know that the original Supreme Personality of Godhead has now appeared as an incarnation by his internal energy. He is the bestower of all desired by the living entities, and he has now assumed the body of Kapila Muni. So this is the first verse which directly predicted the incarnation of Lord Kapila Dev. And he says, next verse, by mystic yoga and the practical app. See, he has not yet said where is he. He's just saying that this incarnation of the Lord is coming. Okay. He's not mentioned in the previous verse where. In this verse he mentions by mystic yoga and the practical application of knowledge from the scriptures. Kapila Muni, who is characterized by his golden hair, his eyes just like lotus petals, and his lotus feet, which bear the marks of lotus flowers, will uproot the deep-rooted desire for work in this material world. So this is a prediction Prabhupada writes there, or Shukdev Goswami mentions there, which we read in the 20th chapter, no? That as already predicted by Brahmaji, Devahuti now begins to put forward her spiritual queries to Kapila Dev. Why? Because Brahmaji had spoken this verse, 17th verse. What is this verse? He will uproot the deep-rooted desire for material life in this material life. So there is avidya in the heart of the conditioned soul, and there are material desires coming from that avidya. And because of those material desires, the living entity is very active. I want to do this, I want to do that. The whole purpose of getting married is actually to live a fruitive life. Fruitive life means I do something and then I have a material fruit. So I work in a job and then I want to earn some money. And when I earn that money, I can get what I desire. I can do what I wish to. So this is called fruitive life, fruitive mentality. that there should be a material outcome for my selfish use. Anything we do with that mentality will chain us and bind us to this material world because there is a reaction. And anything we do wherein there is no such um, expectation, where there is no such desired material result for oneself, that work does not bring reaction. So even those who are not devotees necessarily, but they may be on the jnana path, impersonal path, even they may not get reactions to some of their work if that is the mentality with which they are doing. And even far better than this, if one does something to get result for Krishna, that is devotion in order to please Krishna. So devotee should at least be in these two platforms, not on the lowest one. That is the brutal mentality that I want to get. Even sometimes a devotee may like to impress the GBC or the senior devotee so that he makes me temple president. So then that is also fruitive actually. Because that temple president is, see, if one does something in order to please the great souls to attain Krishna Prema, that is not fruitive. Because that we become Krishna conscious is also the um, desire of Krishna. So we are doing something which Krishna wants. We're desiring that. So that's not a problem. We want to, if we desire to please Srila Prabhupada, if we desire to be enlightened with Srimad Bhagavatam, that's not a fruitive mentality. But suppose I'm looking for more followers amongst the devotees, and that is why I'm preaching or distributing books. No. Or I'm looking for the highest score or a rank in book distribution marathon. Of course, I'm not a right person to say this because I myself don't get high ranks. But I'm just saying that, that principally, if the desire is not to please Prabhupada or to spread Krishna consciousness, but to get uh, honorable rank, then that is fruitive mentality.
So just one question I have in relationship to this
Mm.
is that ISKCON is such a big movement now.
Yeah.
And to simply tell people that you come here and you just perform selfless activity.
Yeah.
Like I mean, it's great if people can do that, but the general case is that
Yeah.
people are gonna want that position, that power,
Yes.
or that result. And so is there a way to facilitate such people within Sankirtan
I
movement?
think that's already happening, right? So whatever one is looking for, one will get that. Prabhupada says this in one purport of 10th canto. I think the chapter number is somewhere in the 30s, like 31, 32, 33, or maybe 20, no, 30s only, yeah. The chapter is Krishna and Balaram enter the arena of Kamsa.
Mm.
You know? So in that chapter, when Krishna is entering that arena, wherein he's going to fight with Chanur and Mushtik and other fighters. So these wrestlers, they're just waiting to kill that little boy Krishna. He was just 12-year-old that time. And Balram too, he was like 12 and a half, 13. So when Krishna entered that arena, you must have seen that, like those huge matches where they enter and then the whole crowd is cheering or whatever against or for the guy. So that time it is described each person in the audience in the stadium, and there were like hundreds of thousands of them, huge stadium filled with people. And each person was seeing Krishna based on his or her own mentality. Some people saw Krishna, some of them, they saw Krishna just as a little boy. Hey, how can Kamsa arrange this biggest of the wrestlers on the planet against this little boy? He's just a soft-limbed boy. I mean, he'll be chutney in no time.
Mm.
Okay. So they were concerned like like parents, to a little son. Okay. Some others, they saw Krishna as a mystical guy. Hey, this boy, don't know what kind of yogi is this, because we have heard that he has somehow or other killed so many of the big demons who went to Vrindavan. Okay. So we don't know what's going to happen. Some others saw Krishna as death personified. Now, how they saw is not explained, but they saw. So they were fearful. Some girls saw Krishna as the most attractive male uh, on present on the planet, and they just wanted to be like his maid servants. Some saw Krishna out of great lust, being enchanted by his bodily beauty, and they felt Krishna is like Cupid only, Cupid personified. Yeah, like Kubja, yeah, similar to that. Yeah. So like that it is, and some saw Krishna as Paramatma. Hey, this guy knows everything. And some even saw Krishna as the supreme personality of Godhead. And there were some Brajvasis as well, and they just saw Krishna as their Kana, their their sweetest boy of the cowherd community. And Kamsa saw Krishna as death personified because he had that fear, because he knew the prediction. So Prabhupada explains there a very beautiful thing as you are sharing, Prabhu. Uh, Prabhupada says that in Krishna consciousness there are 18 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita. In ISKCON also there are 18 chapters. Some are on the platform of Karma Yoga, and they're looking for some good activity which they like in ISKCON, they get it. Some people are looking for prasad in ISKCON, so they get it. Some are looking for a good wife or husband in ISKCON. Believe me, there are people who look for that. That is the primary thing they come for. So they see these people are people of character. I'll get a good spouse here. And some people come even for career within ISKCON, because directly, indirectly, you can, I know people who have made huge businesses by socializing amongst ISKCON devotees. And Krishna is so merciful, he gives through ISKCON whatever one desires. And some come to ISKCON for learning spiritual knowledge, and some come for attaining Krishna prem, serving the great souls, and they get that too. So yes, Prabhu, that is there. If a devotee is looking for name, fame, if a devotee is looking for some followers, if a devotee is looking for some leadership, adventure, okay, so everything he will get from within ISKCON, or even nice prasad. The thing is, he should not be driven by these things. Okay. So even though he may be having um, these desires, okay, these tendencies, so Krishna will simultaneously fulfill them. Just like Dhruv Maharaj, the example is given on Dhruv Maharaj. He initially wanted that kingdom, but later on, by the practice of Krishna consciousness, he got purified. And yet, Krishna gave him the kingdom also because he had that desire. Just like Karna Muni had desire to get a wife, but he was not endeavoring for it. But he had that desire. So Krishna says, "Hey, you are such a good devotee of mine. Why will I not fulfill this petty material desires?" So what Krishna does, while one is practicing Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, through the institution of devotees, Krishna also keeps him materially satisfied. Okay, take this. And the devotee knows, hey, this is, I should not be looking for this, but somehow I have that desire. So Krishna says, dovetail it in my service. You anyways like to be a leader, like to have some control. Do it for me then, but do it in a selfless way. Like, don't use those followers or resources which might come as a product of leadership. Don't use them for your own material purposes. Just use them in my service. So you dovetail your tendencies. And that's wonderful. One wants to do big things. So Krishna may give him Motel Gita or something like that, okay, achieve some big numbers. Yeah. So, so the devotee is struggling with his some of the material tendencies, but he's also thankful and blissful that see Krishna is allowing me to dovetail it. So I want to get married. Krishna says, fine, but do it like let's have a Krishna conscious marriage. So like that Krishna purifies. And that is wonderful because within the same life, same lifetime, if one is sincere, one will come to pure devotion service. Does that?
Yeah.
Yeah. But it is said, Prabhu, at least the brahmacharis who accept saffron, of course, I'm not saying like an instruction here, it applies to me too. Especially those who are brahmacharis, renounced order of life. And among them also, those who accept saffron should be free from this, even in practical life.
Mm.
So, which means uh, if a brahmachari, till the time he accepts saffron, till the time he might still be struggling with, like, I want this dessert. So that's fine. Like he might be looking forward to eat a lot of sweets or paneers or whatever. He wants to have post and position, this and that. Fine. Do all these things, all the sports and all this drama and all within Krishna consciousness, dovetailing and all. But when you accept saffron, uh, try to be above most of these things at least. Maybe occasionally some things maybe there, but especially when it comes to name, fame, and follower, like these three things: followers, name, fame, and control. These are the worst of all material tendencies, and it kills the spirit of renounced order of life. And see, most of the society looks forward to renounced order of life for inspiration, like sannyasis. The entire, especially the congregation, derives, without speaking one word, derives deep inspiration from those who are in renounced order of life. So it is said that the greatest service of renounced order of life is to actually be renounced from these topmost tendencies. Eat whatever you want, but from the tendency of controlling others or tagging others as my man or my group. And third is name fame, like how many YouTube subscribers and just too much over endeavoring in that direction. So this spoils the power of sannyas or brahmacharya ashram.
Wonderful.
So, so this is a prediction which Brahmaji had that this Kapila Muni will give teachings which will help a person to uproot material desires. And then one more verse, just then again we'll switch back. 18th verse, he says, Lord Brahma then told Devahuti, see now he's telling Devahuti, he turns from Kardama to Devahuti, my dear daughter of Manu, the same supreme personality of Godhead who killed the demon Kaitabhak is now within your womb. This is a previous chapter, so that time Kapila Deva was in the womb of Devahuti. He will cut off all the knots of your ignorance and doubts. Then he will travel all over the world. So see here again he's predicting that you will be making inquiries to him and he will cut off all the knots of your attachments and doubts and material desires. So, and then he says that your son will actually become very famous as Kapila Dev and he will be famous as your son and he will increase your fame. So all these things he says. So we'll come back to our discussion in this chapter, sixth verse again, 325:6, where um, Devahuti remembers the words of Brahmaji, which were spoken like many years back at that moment. And now she's beginning to inquire from Kapila Dev. So I hope I didn't confuse in the narration. Is it clear?
Yes.
The switch.
Yeah.
Okay, so text 7. Devahutirvacha
Devahutirvacha
Nirvinna nitaram bhuman
Nirvinna nitaram
Asad indriya tarshanat
Asad indriya darshana
Yena sambhavyamanena
Yena sarvagamana
Prapannandham tama prabhu.
Prapannandam Prabhu.
Very important question. Devahuti said, I am very sick of the disturbance caused by my material senses. For because of this sense disturbance, my Lord, I have fallen into the abyss of ignorance. This question of Devahuti is simply showing that she was looking for liberation. And I'm frustrated. I'm done with all this material relationships, material desires, material enjoyment. Just show me a way to get out of this. Sometimes even devotee gets frustrated with, "Arey, when this 16 rounds will get over." He wants to get liberated. And sometimes even the service given to us becomes like that. Arey Prabhu, I'm just waiting for the service to come. So it's all right, you know. And in the core of our heart, we are devotees. We know that like we're trying to please Krishna. But in the practice, there may be some ups and downs. Okay, sometimes so much load is there, we may become very upset or anxious to just finish off that day's or that week's duties. So it's all right. But there's a consistent bottom line to it that no, we are devotees. We're trying to please Krishna. You know. At the same time, Devahuti here had no element of Krishna or devotion. As we discussed last to last time, that honeymoon period which she lived with Kardama, she had no satisfaction even after that. So she thought that "Arey, the best of everything for such a long duration of thousands of years, we have tried to enjoy. How are we not happy still? Sometimes when we travel in a train or in a flight, we can actually look at the faces of people, you know. People are just bored with the material life. They don't know what to do next, you know.
Especially in Indian train.
Yeah. So one guy is my one family who's like my relatives. So these guys have traveled like so many countries, and here in America also they've gone to Disneyland and this and that, everything, you know. Probably most of the Americans might not have traveled that much. You know. And now these guys are always asking me, hey, you travel here and there, and tell us some good place, you know, we are bored now. I was telling them, "Arey, what good place, you know? How many, whatever number of places you may go, in the entire universe, you will get bored. That is what is happening, you know. Brahmanda Brahmita Kona Bhagyavan. If you're Bhagyavan, you go and meet a spiritual master. But that's what people are trying to do actually. And they don't understand that at the end of this whole thing, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan Maham Prapadyate. A real knowledgeable or enlightened person will actually approach Krishna or spiritual master. So one interesting thing here too, there's a verse in 11th canto, 1128. 11th canto, 20th chapter 8. It's a very famous verse. I have this verse here with me. So this verse is Yadrichaya mat kathado jata shraddhostu yapuman na nirvinno nati sakto bhakti yogosya siddhida. So this verse says, if somehow or other, by good fortune, one develops faith in hearing and chanting of Krishna's glories, such a person, being neither very disgusted nor not being neither very disgusted with nor very attached with material life, should achieve perfection through the path of loving devotion to me. This is a very revealing thing. He says, Krishna himself is saying that uh, qualification of bhakti means one should not be too disgusted with material world and one should not be too attached to the material world. What does this mean? One should be objectively able to see this material world is not worth it. At the same time, if one is too disgusted, tomorrow he will even reject things to use in Krishna's service. No, no. You know, we don't want to have any building for temple. Like, building means problem. Say, why don't you distribute books? And who will keep accounts and all this is all. So they say that you should not like hate the material world or hate relationships. So you should hate the selfish part of it, the material part of it. But not that you hate material world per se. That is the symptom of jnanis or impersonalist people. Not like, come on, you know, we should not eat all this. If we have desire for one gulab jamun also, we'll stay in the material world. No, you offer to Krishna and then you relish his prasad. You know, like that. So very interesting, right? And if one is too attached to material world, then say whether Krishna doesn't like chicken, it's in, but I like, so I take it. So, so this verse says that one should one should be neutral to the material world and one should try to become attached to Krishna by hearing and chanting and then use the material world in Krishna's service. But here you see Devavati. What is her question? I am just simply disgusted with this material life. Just get me out of this. So in this verse, the Devahuti of this verse is actually just fit for liberation or impersonal jnana path. She's not fit for bhakti. But because Acharya explained, because she's approaching the right person, a Vaishnava. Of course, Kapila Dev here is taking the role of a Vaishnava. He's a Supreme Lord nonetheless. So because she's approaching a Vaishnava, you know, she will get bhakti. Just like Dhruv Maharaj, he looked for actually material connection, not even liberation. But the good thing was he approached Narada Muni. And because he approached Narada Muni, he got devotional service. Even Diti approached Kashyapa with a desire as bad as I want to kill Indra. I want to kill all the demigods. I mean, this is even lower than Dhruva. Dhruva just wanted something for himself. But even Diti got purified because she approached a Vaishnava. So the key here is if one is in the shelter of a Vaishnava and follows the instructions of a Vaishnava, which is basically the path of devotional service, one will get purified, irrespective of which level one began from. Very nice, no?
Yes.
So we will see Devahuti very quickly being transformed, practically within 5 verses, being elevated. Shall we go ahead?
Yes.
So text 7, she asked this from uh, Kapila Dev that I am sick of the disturbance caused by my material senses. Devoti said, I am very sick of the disturbance caused by my material senses. For because of this sense disturbance, my Lord, I have fallen into the abyss of ignorance. Text 8. Tasya tvam tamasonnasya
तस्य त्वं तमसोऽप्यस्य
dushparasyaadya paragam
दुष्करस्यपालकम्
satchakshurjanmanamante
सचक्षुर्जन्मनामान्ते
labdham me tvad anugrahat.
लब्धं मे त्वदनुग्रहात्
Your Lordship is my only means of getting out of this darkest region of ignorance, because you are my transcendental eye, which by your mercy only I have attained after many, many births. So, see, again, if you see, although the words seem to be very buttery, but actually all she is focused on is what am I going to get from you? What is in it for me? There is no point of I want to serve you. She's saying, oh, I'm very fortunate. Huh? Now I'll get liberation from this ignorance. Why? Because I've somehow or other I've got you. You don't see this type of attitude in any Vaishnava's prayers or approach. You never see. You see Vaishnava is, for him, the subject matter is Krishna. And for an impersonate subject matter is himself. That is the center of the talk. That I should become liberated or this or that. For a Vaishnava, mama janmani ishware bhavatat bhakti rahetuki. I just want to serve you life after life. Whether I be accepted or rejected, whether I get liberated or I don't get liberated, I'm born as a dog or I'm born as a human being, or I'm just transferred to spiritual world. I'll just love you and serve you. That is a Vaishnava. The object of love of a Vaishnava is Krishna and spiritual master. And the object of focus of any other path practitioner is oneself. So, yeah. Prabhupada writes in the purport, this verse is very instructive since it indicates the relationship between the spiritual master and the disciple. Because see, whether you see impersonal point of view or personal point of view, the path to spiritual life is through the spiritual master. So Prabhupada is focusing on that. The disciple or conditioned soul is put into the darkest region of ignorance and therefore is entangled in the material existence of sense gratification. It is very difficult to get out of this entanglement and attain freedom. But if one is fortunate enough to get the association of a spiritual master like Kapila Muni or his representative, then by his grace, one can be delivered from the mire of ignorance. The spiritual master is therefore worshipped as one who delivers the disciple from the mire of ignorance with the light of the torch of knowledge. The word paragam is very significant. Paragam refers to one who can take the disciple to the other side. So this is a very important thing. What if a devotee does not have that faith or confidence in his spiritual master or in his spiritual mentor? Can this guy, can this person, can this devotee take me to the other side? Is he that capable or that pure? So Prabhupada explains this, and I know I. Prabhupada says that one can accept Uttamadhikari. One should ideally accept only Uttamadhikari as the guru. So can we really analyze? Do we have some kind of meter or an instrument to analyze the spiritual masters or the spiritual mentors, Diksha Gurus or Shiksha Gurus in ISKCON?
Yeah.
It's a very dangerous thing. You know. There are some principles given, but it's very who will judge? Who's the right person to judge? So you don't have exactly like meters to show you, no, like exact numbers. So it is explained by Prabhupada himself that one should follow an Uttamadhikari or a sincere follower of Uttamadhikari. So in ISKCON, we are all following Srila Prabhupada anyways. He is a perfect Acharya. That is already established without any doubt by scriptures, by Lord Gauranga, by all the results, and by all the symptoms. And anyone who sincerely follows him, okay, is also capable of delivering by himself or through Srila Prabhupada, and ultimately by the mercy of Prabhupada. So therefore, he might be a Madhyamadhikari, he might be a Uttamadhikari, but if he is a consistent, loyal, sincere follower of Srila Prabhupada, by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, he can also deliver. And therefore, one should sincerely follow. Was I clear, bro? Yes, bro.
Rama and Srila Bhakti Chintamani makes a very interesting point about this Uttama Adhikar and Uttama Bhakta.
Yeah.
That Uttama Adhikar is one who has the Adhikar to be an Uttama.
Yeah. Very good.
So it's
He may not yet be Uttama Bhakta.
but because that qualification is there,
Yes.
he can be accepted as
Perfect. Very good quote. Brilliant, actually. So, because he has the adhikar or the qualification, because he's marching in the right direction towards being an Uttama Bhakta. I think Prabhupada said the same thing. Prabhupada said, one can follow a pure devotee or a potential pure devotee. So, because he's on the path of pure devotional service. Same thing. Thank you. Say something?
Oh, yeah, bro, I have a question. Why did Prabhupada say father and spiritual master?
Yeah, because true in the Gurukul, in the Gurukul system, spiritual master was often called as father, also often referred to as father by the disciples and the students. Because if I consider myself as a soul, I may not probably call my daddy as father any longer. Because so as a soul, just like we say God brother, how do we say brother? See, God means spiritual family.
Yes.
And brother means
That's
no, not but in the sense here, like because my spiritual master is like my spiritual father.
Yes.
And therefore I have a God brother
Yes.
because he's also his spiritual son or spiritual daughter. So just like we have a father and a brother or a sister through him, similarly we have a spiritual master.
So he's not referring to material father?
No, it's not like we reject the material father. And yes, Prabhupada is also not referring to material father in that sense. Yeah. So next verse. Ya adyo bhagavan pumsam
Yadyo Bhagavan Pumsam
Ishvaro vaibhavan kila
Ishvaro Vaibhavan Kila
lokasya tamasandhasya
Lokasya Tamasandasya
chakshu surya ivoditaha.
Chakshu Surya Ivodita.
So she says, see again, continuing from the previous verse, she is glorifying her good fortune that I have got you now. So I can be liberated. I can get enlightenment. So she compares Kapila Dev, her son or her spiritual master, to a sun, like sun, sunlight, sun. Yeah. You are the supreme personality of Godhead, the origin and the supreme lord of all living entities. You have arisen to disseminate the rays of the sun in order to dissipate the darkness of ignorance of the universe. Just like we say, Om Agyantivadanasya Jnananjana Shalakya Chakshuranmilitam. Why do we say spiritual master opens my eyes of wisdom? My eyes were already open, but they were netra. Netra is gross eyes. Chakshu is subtle eyes.
Mm.
So Chakshuranmilitam, not Netra Unmilanam. So when we do deity installation, it's Netron Milan because it's gross form. In Lord's case, gross and subtle, everything is same, Satchidananda. But in our case, Chakshuran Militam, not Netron Milan. Netra are already open. Chakshu are given by a spiritual master. And also she's comparing uh, like sun, like why sun? Because when sun's rays are there, everything becomes clear. Next verse. अथ मे देव सम्मोहम्
मे देव सम्मोहम्
अप्राकृष्टुं त्वमर्हसि
अपाकृष्टुं त्वमर्हसि
योगग्रहो योगग्रहोऽहं ममेत्य
परागोऽहममेति
एतस्मिन् योजितस्त्वया.
एतस्मिन् युतास्वया.
So herein she said, just dispel my ignorance now. Now I am something similar to what Arjuna said to Krishna in Gita, that now I am a disciple surrendered unto you. Please help me. Shishyastaham madi shati mam tam prapanna. Next verse. Tam tva gataham sharanam sharanyam स्वभृत्य संसार तरो कुठारम
स्वभृत्य संसाररोधरम्
जिज्ञासयाहं प्रकृते पुरुषस्य
जिज्ञासयाहं प्रकृतिपुरुषस्य
नमामि सद्धर्मविदां वरिष्ठम्.
नमामि सदागमेदं वरिष्ठम्.
Devavati continued, I have taken shelter of your lotus feet because you are the only person of whom to take shelter. You are the axe which can cut the tree of material existence. I therefore offer my obeisances unto you, who are the greatest of all transcendentalists, and I inquire from you as to relationship between man and woman and between spirit and matter. See, again you see, she is not referring Supreme Lord anywhere. She is not talking about any service or prema. All she is talking about is explain to me the nature of material world and the nature of conditioned souls. Again, she's talking only of liberation. Yes, please.
Um, isn't that etiquette
Yes.
in kind of Vaishnava culture
Yeah.
that when you start kind of approaching the guru or ask a question, you don't start with prayer.
Yeah. Then that's correct, Prabhuji. At the same time,
Somehow it looks also is teaching us how we start learning and asking a question. Otherwise, like we can see which kind of all starts. I believe it was the beginning of third camp. Somebody was asking his superior.
somebody is asking.
Somebody is asking his superior how can we be had.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's kind of general question.
Yes.
So let's say Lord Chaitanya also how to achieve perfection,
Yes.
which is kind of quite general.
Yes. Yes. So, Prabhuji, exactly as you answered your own question. They were asking open-ended questions. So when I say, like, what is the duty of a dying man, as Parishit asked, and what is the duty of a human being in general? That is open-ended question. It's called humble inquiry. Here it is very specific inquiry. I just want to get out of this. Yeah, that's all. This is not an open-ended thing. That what is the goal of life? Like Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Prayagraj. So, kya I? Like who am I? And what should I do? Why? How to become happy? So these are very open-ended. And then the spiritual master or the Vaishnava is teaching, no, actually we are part and parcel of Krishna, and we should connect with Krishna in love. And then that leads to bhakti. But in all these, in this case, like in Devavati's case, she is very clearly, specifically asking questions limited to liberation. But now you see what he does. That's why I'm just trying to, in 10-15 minutes, bring to that point where Kapila Deva does his magic. Because she's approaching the right person. So this right person will not just allow her to go with liberation alone. At the same time, he will not cheat her also. That no, I will give you bhakti only. He will give her the path to liberation, but he will. It's like the shopping mall. We go for just one thing, but then they put so many items in such a way that you end up buying many. So Kapila Dev also he markets bhakti very nicely, and he says that see, why are you just satisfied with liberation alone? First, he gives the path of liberation, and then he says, why to be satisfied with alone with liberation? Very beautiful, isn't it? Does it answer too? So let's see ahead. Text 12. So from text 12, Kapila Dev begins answering her questions. So we will skip Prabhu few verses. Um, I'll just tell you the summary of that 12 to 18 verses. I'll just tell you the summary and we'll skip them. Basically, Kapila Dev offers in verses number 12 to 18, 7 verses. He says the solution to your need, the answer to your question is an Adhyatmic Yoga. So Adhyatmic Yoga means Adi Atmic Yoga. So he says yoga means you connect with the Supreme Lord through a mixture of jnana, ashtanga, and bhakti. So he says that you can connect to Lord like that. He gives a mystical or a mixed answer. And then he says in the end, let me first tell you about bhakti. Because bhakti is the best of all three. And bhakti alone can actually fulfill your desire also. And bhakti can give you much more. And then from 19th onwards, he begins talking about bhakti and superiority of bhakti in front of all other paths. So, how do we understand why Kapila Dev talked like that? Why would he not directly talk of bhakti? Because he just wanted to be a good neutral teacher. Not that because I follow the path of bhakti yoga, you should also follow the path of bhakti yoga. No, I'm willing to give you everything. But let me also tell you that actually, objectively speaking, bhakti yoga is the highest. Is this clear? Can we go directly to 19? Let's do that. So we'll stop at 25 today. We'll just cover in 10 minutes. So verse number 19. Na yujyamanaya bhaktya bhagavatyakilatmani sadrishosti shiva pantha yoginam brahma siddhaye. Perfection in self-realization cannot be attained by any kind of yogi unless he engages in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For that is the only auspicious path. See what a statement. Huh? After saying that I'll give you all the three paths, you know, he says, see why he didn't give karma yoga path because she was already frustrated with a lot of karma. So he said, I'll give you a combination of yoga, jnana, and bhakti. But in this verse, he clearly says that actually why to bother about the other two paths. You know? Anyway, even if you follow the other two paths without bhakti, in the end, they cannot lead you to perfection. So just do bhakti, directly saying. So it's like Kapila Dev saying, even though I spoke of three paths, let me also tell you that the best and all powerful path is bhakti only. It's almost like negating his own statements previously that you can take these three paths. It's like no need, useless. Next. And why he says this thing, na? He says that in bhakti, the person's mind gets attached to the Supreme Lord. And that automatically leads to liberation anyways. Now, text 20 and 25, these two are considered the topmost verses of this section. So see, this text 20 is very famous. Prasangam ajaram pasham
Prasangamajaram pasham
atmana kavayo vidu
atmana kavyo vidu
sa eva sadhushu krito
Saiva sadhu shukrito
moksha dwaram apavritam.
mokshadvaram abhagatam.
Every learned man knows very well that attachment for the material is the greatest entanglement of the spirit soul. But that same attachment, when applied to the self-realized devotees, opens the door of liberation. Hari Bo. So see here, he is using the word moksha dwaram. Why did he not use the word bhakti dwaram, prema dwaram, or any other? Because he wanted to convince her. You are looking for moksha? I am telling you, moksha is very easy. You have attachments, material attachments. Simply giving material attachment is not natural because then we'll be like a dead object. We cannot be that. So he's telling just transfer your attachment. The tendency of all your attachments is transfer that to a pure hearted Vaishnava because then he will engage all your attachments in service of Krishna. So this is a very, very important verse. This verse is basically the title of this verse is How to Get Bhakti. Okay, Bhakti is the highest. How to get Bhakti? Just become attached to great souls. We don't have to focus on being detached. As Prabhupada used to say to the hippies, you don't have to subtract anything from your life. You just have to add Krishna to your life. You like to eat? Wonderful. Eat Krishna Prasad. You like to have music? You have a lot of music. Even rap music, Kalakanda has those rap songs. Everything converted to rap. So you want to go out and do something, go out for books. Yeah. So very beautiful. See this purport. Attachment cannot be killed. It has simply to be transferred. Attachment for material things is called material consciousness, and attachment for Krishna or his devotee is called Krishna consciousness. Consciousness, therefore, is the platform of attachment. So further Prabhupada says, little ahead, a living entity by constitution has the propensity to be attached to something. We see that if someone has no object of attachment, if he has no children, then he transfers his attachment to cats and dogs. So basically, he says just transfer your attachment to sadhu. Because sadhu is attached to Krishna, then naturally you get attached to Krishna. Like we can see when the hippies fell in love with Prabhupada, and they could clearly see that this person is our well-wisher. And because they loved Prabhupada, so they tried to be Krishna conscious. Although initially that was not their exact desire that we want to love Krishna or something. But because they fell in love with Prabhupada, so they could love Krishna. Text 21. Now the question one may have is, how do I find such a devotee? How do I identify such a devotee? Right? Okay. 19th verse said, Bhakti is the highest. Bhakti is all inclusive. 20th verse says, how to get Bhakti? Ah, get attached to a pure devotee. But then how to find the pure devotee? How do I know this devotee is worth being attached to? Titikshava karunika
Titishva karika
surga sarvadehina
Surya sarvadena
ajata shatrava shanta
Jatashatravaśana
sadhava sadhu bhushana.
Sarvashrabhushana.
The symptoms of a sadhu are that he is tolerant, merciful, and friendly to all living entities. He has no enemies. He is peaceful. He abides by the scriptures, and all his characteristics are sublime. So, this text 21 and 22 are talking about how to identify that sadhu to whom I should get attached to. Now, these symptoms you may actually find sometimes in a person who may not be Krishna conscious, maybe on the Jnana path, or maybe just an ignorant person. Similar symptoms, some of them we may find. And sometimes we may find Vaishnava is not having these symptoms. Like Prabhupada also. You see, it says he is peaceful. Sometimes Prabhupada was not peaceful. He was extremely agitated and aggressive, but for Krishna, right? So these are secondary characteristics. Rupa Goswami and Vishnu Chakravarti explained, don't buy these as the primary characteristics. These are external and secondary characteristics. Not that these should not be there, but this is not the primary thing. So what is primary comes next in the next verse. Which means the secondary characteristics may sometimes be manifest, sometimes may not be manifest. Depends. So text 22, this is the primary characteristics. This must be there. मयि अनन्येन भावेन
मय्यनन्येन भावेन
भक्तिं कुर्वन्ति ये दृढाम्
भक्तिं कुर्वन्ति ये दृढाम्
मत्कृते त्यक्तकर्माणस्
मत्कृते त्यक्तकर्माणस्
त्यक्तस्वजनबान्धवा.
स्वजनबान्धवा.
Such a sadhu engages in staunch devotional service to the Lord without deviation. For the sake of the Lord, he renounces all other connections, if need be, such as family relationships and friendly acquaintances within this world. So, see, his attachment to Krishna is his only necessary and sufficient qualification to be called a sadhu. When George Harrison and John Lennon in London, when they asked Srila Prabhupada, there are so many people calling themselves as spiritual masters and propagating a certain path of spiritual life. How do I know who is the right person to be my spiritual master? And Prabhupada spontaneously, instantaneously is replied. What a reply. Prabhupada said, Guru is one who's addicted to Krishna. Wow. Nothing. That's it. Not that Guru has to be a sannyasi, Guru has to be an old guy, Guru has to be from India. Absolutely nothing. Guru is one who's addicted to Krishna. And what a word used, na? Addicted. He can't leave. Right? Addiction means your entire absorption is that. Your goal is that. Your object of worship is that. Addicted to Krishna. And George Harrison and John Lennon were totally satisfied over that. And then immediately George says, I see only you as addicted to Krishna. Prabhu said, that's all right. So see, when one is addicted to Krishna, one will be also a well-wisher of every living entity. But his actions and his behavior may not always conform that to our mind. That is he tolerant and merciful? Sometimes maybe chastising to someone. Hey, he doesn't seem to be merciful. Therefore, the first verse was a secondary characteristic. But this Maya Ananyana Bhavena, this is primary. This has to be there. Has to be clearly visible. Yes, Prabhu.
I think this logic is the same as in first chapter, verse 3 and 4.
Yeah.
This we have been saying
Yes,
before.
yes.
And 6 and 7 is direct.
Correct.
Same logic.
Yeah. So actually there also, because Arjuna had asked this question, then who is better in the first two verses. So Prabhupada writes in the purport, a sannyasi is generally in the renounced order of life, but his renunciation will be successful only when his energy is employed in the service of the Lord with great austerity. So see, attachment to Krishna is more important than detachment from matter. Because if attachment to Krishna is there, one will either dovetail the other things, or one will anyways naturally give up the other things. So can we say a Grahastha cannot be a pure hearted Vaishnava? No. He may be having his Grahastha duties, but if his primary in focus attachment is to Krishna, and if any time need be, he is willing to relinquish any of this family interests in order to serve Krishna, then that means he's a pure devotee. Is it clear?
Seems like for someone who isn't a devotee,
Yeah.
these qualities of Chichiksha, Karuna, Sarvadi, are
Yeah.
very helpful to help cultivate faith in devotees.
Yes, yes,
But once you are a devotee,
yes,
even if you see kind of anomalies in someone's
Yes.
character, you have to take shelter of this.
exactly, exactly.
And
Perfect.
that's that Bhaktivinoda Thakur's the commentary he gave on the history of Bhagavati Dharma.
Yeah,
That you can become a great soul if you can see beyond the so-called effects of the character to see
exactly.
the fixity of purpose and devotion.
Sometimes even a such a Vaishnava may be engaged in some material business as his duty. And we may say, oh, he's a pounds and shillings man. No, not necessarily, actually. Because what is his primary attachment? That's what happened when Gadadhar Pandit was taken by Mukunda in Chaitanya Charitamrita to meet this Pundarik Vidyadevi. And Pundarik was like appearing to be really a very, very materially attached person. But the proof of his devotional service, his purity, was when someone chanted that verse about Krishna delivering Putana. He was like out of control in ecstasy. You know. So his love and attachment to Krishna is the thing which qualifies him to be a devotee. Like we may say, is a petrol station, what do you call it? Gas station. Is a gas station a good gas station or not? Oh, if a gas station is clean, then it's a good gas station. If a gas station has like 3 counters, then it is good gas station. If a gas station has an outlet which is also selling chips and soda, that's a good gas. These are all secondary. Maybe there, may not be there. If a gas station has gas available, in its pure form, is ready to give you, then it's a good gas station. That's it. This is necessary and sufficient qualification. And now, if you add, actually, an ideal gas station should also have, this. Yeah, it'll be nice. So that's secondary. Yeah.
So in relationship to this,
Yeah.
Radhesham Prabhu has this idiom, like
Yeah.
charisma catches, character keeps.
Yes.
How do we understand that saying in relationship to this? Because it looks like charisma is Tatiksha Karunika Sudhidar Sadadehina. And according to this, character would be verse 22.
I would not call it like that. Although I agree with you in principle.
Mm.
But see, Prabhu, once His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj explained this. He said that we often say that character is the primary thing to look for, in a person. He said character is also of 2 types. One is spiritual character, another is material character. So, like for example, honesty. Which character is that? Material character. So I'll be able to trust a person materially based on. But sometimes the Vaishnava may not be honest in service to Krishna. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is in Antalila, I think it is the 6th chapter. I think so, 6th or 7th chapter. It talks about Gopinath Patnaik.
Yeah.
And Gopinath Patnaik cheated the government, right? I mean, he was an agent to collect taxes. And he was doing cheating. He was taking
Something on the side.
more than what was due, right? So, and that was figured out by the prince. Of course, the prince was a very, very selfish and brutal guy. That's a separate matter. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not give up on Gopinath Patnaik. Although initially he showed his disapproval. Hey, why is he doing all that? That's a material thing. So he's my devotee, fine. But his material problems have to be dealt with the material law of the land. But eventually he saved him. He said, okay, Jagannath will save him. Out of humility, he said Jagannath, but he only saved him. Right? So Mahaprabhu, in many circumstances, like even Indra, whenever he performs naughty behaviors, Krishna never killed him, right? See, demons, when they came to Vrindavan, before they could do anything, Krishna would kill them. They have not even done anything, any harm to anyone. But Krishna would just kill them. Hey, you are a demon, Hari Bol. And this Indra, he has done all the actions and all the arrangements to kill all Vrindavan Vasis. And the trees and cows, many of them were killed also actually already. Krishna revived them again after putting Govardhan back. But he doesn't kill Indra. He just again chastises him, warns him, and don't do again. And leaves him. And again, this guy does in the next canto or next scripture, correct? Because it is explained because Indra also was a devotee of Krishna, although a mixed devotee. The moment when he's a devotee of Krishna, he goes on a different list only altogether. So the first, for us, Prabhu, the spiritual character is his devotional service. Uh, there may be a guy uh, who may be very like fighting. He may be fighting a lot with his wife and may be very aggressive and may even divorce her. But then devotion on a devotional front, he may be very good devotee. I'm not suggesting one should be like this. I'm saying spiritual character means his attachment, his faith, and his surrender to Krishna. And then comes material character, which is also very important. So we should not, in our institution, we should not empower a person in leadership position unless he has material character also. But that does not mean that he is not dear to Krishna. Because if he has spiritual character, he must still be very dear to Krishna. Krishna also would like him to work upon his material character also. But that does not mean he will not be dear to Krishna. Am I clear?
Yeah, I guess I have one.
So now, like one more thing, though. Sometimes a person may not be having those other Vaishnava qualities. Like he may only be visibly having Krishna Eka Sharanam. Still, he is qualified as a Vaishnava. Other qualities like Shanta and Sama, equal to all. Sometimes he may have favoritism amongst devotees also. But that doesn't disqualify him as a Vaishnava. Because those are secondary, tangential qualities, not the core. So this Titikshava Karunika sometimes may be visible, may not be visible, sometimes may be manifest in different degrees. But this is not exactly charisma. This is also part of character. Now, charisma is the material competence. Like how one speaks, like you see Jay Shetty, Gaurav Gopal, they have, I mean,
Charisma.
really charisma. That is because of their past karma, clearly. They were supposed to be very influential speakers.
One way or another.
One way or another. Even if they would have been core karmis, they would have had this thing. Or some devotees, they collect so much funds. And they may not be like very pure devotees, kind of. But because they were supposed to get, according to their karma, a lot of Lakshmi. The good thing is their qualification in devotional service, they're engaging it in Krishna. So their karma is also getting purified. Otherwise, the same karma would have created more bondage for them. But here it is liberating. It's not only liberating them from the bondage, it is attracting Krishna's blessings upon them, Vaishnava's blessings upon them. So if Gaur Gopal Prabhu or Jai Shetty Prabhu, feel or we feel that we just invite such people in ISKCON and let the programs be done. So yeah, people may register for our course because of these people's charisma, but then they may not continue to become initiated devotees. For that, we need to have people with character, spiritual character as well as material character. If you have only people of spiritual character, so people may agree to become devotees, but they may not agree to be in ISKCON society because they may say, hey, this person doesn't have integrity and like materially he is not trustworthy. But if we have leaders and devotees who are materially also high character, then people will stick together in our institution. And that's what Prabhupada wanted. I hope I'm not complicated it.
No, I'm following that.
Yeah. So there are three things: spiritual character, then the all other characteristics of the character, and then charisma. Yeah.
So, anyways, I don't want to divert the conversation.
No.
Well, generally, it seems like Krishna, I think you were saying, is competence.
Yeah.
So sometimes it seems like in the overall
Why am I saying this?
Yeah.
I should also say I should give my reference pramana, not just my opinion.
Yeah.
See the verse Titikshava Karunika. This karuna, this is described as quality of a sadhu in so many places. In fact, it is described the prime quality of sadhu. In fact, Sanatana Goswami says, love for Krishna takes when you have love towards Krishna, and when you direct that love towards living entities, it takes the form of compassion. So this is quite core and internal thing, though. It is not part of that
Yeah.
Charisma,
Yeah,
charisma.
correct. It's not a.
So if you want to call material character also as charisma,
Yeah.
then you can call this also as charisma.
The fact that it says Sadhu Bhushan indicates
Yeah.
it's a jewel given
It's a
by
Jew.
Krishna.
Yeah, correct. Correct.
But my question is a little bit different from this,
Yeah.
from what you were saying.
Yeah.
That generally we take charisma
Yeah.
as material competency.
Yes.
Now, just because one has competency doesn't necessarily mean they have qualification to lead within like a
No, no.
Yeah.
That's true.
Just to clarify that.
Yes,
Because sometimes that's the case, especially I've seen amongst some of the managerial shifts which are going on at ISKCON now.
Yes.
There's a huge issue which we have where managers are qualified managers who have
Yeah.
competency,
Yeah.
but they haven't been raised in like a missionary environment.
Right,
They're
right.
put in positions of administrative posts to make decisions on a spiritual organization.
Yes, yes. Then they cannot. Yeah. See, I'll tell you very simple, right? Prabhupada said, we are a spiritual movement, unfortunately, in a material organization
Mm.
or material world.
Mm.
So it's very difficult.
Mm.
So what do we need? What all do we need to post a person, to put a person on a post? We need definitely spiritual character. The first thing, if he's not a devotee at heart,
Yeah.
how can you put him? Second thing, if he has material character also, that would be really good.
Mm.
Third thing, he should have competence.
Mm.
Because if he cannot produce results, it's like putting a cook, who is a pure devotee, but he doesn't know how to cook. Suppose we can put a practicing devotee, we need something to eat, right? So you will trust more a person, a devotee, who might be a practicing devotee, but he has a history and track record of producing result. So this is given in Ramayana, 4 pillars of trustworthy character. First, it says integrity. Of course, he should be a devotee. That is not even discussed there. First, it says, this is Lord Ramachandra speaking to Bharat in the 100th chapter of Ayodhya Kand. He says, first is integrity. Second is maturity. How to handle circumstances, how to deal with differently with different people. Third, he says, is non-envy. We should be a well-wisher of everyone. Just like in ISKCON also, any person on leadership, he should be a well-wisher of everyone. And all others also should be happy to have him. And fourth is results. He should be competent to produce results. Just because he is a pure devotee, he's a Prabhupada disciple, he's a sannyasi, has been around for a long time, doesn't make him qualified to be a leader. At least not on a post where he takes managerial decisions. Because he will mess it up. I know one sannyasi, okay, he's a spiritual master also in ISKCON. And the managers below him are frustrated because this guy is on a zonal post. And you know what he says? Like he says, he read in one scripture somewhere that money should only be collected by those who are pure hearted. Otherwise, money also brings some karma with it. So he announced in the temple that in our temple, nobody should do money collection, fund collection, because we are not totally pure. Maharaj said, Maharaj, how the temple will run if we are work in progress? He said, no, nobody. You understand? Very extreme stand. So he's very good in certain thing, but then on a practical note, he's incompetent. And that creates problems for others because we are a spiritual society. So we cannot offend also that person. Now this creates a big problem actually. So there has to be as you rightly mentioned, like there has to be a balance of those things. We're not expecting one to be best in everything, or not even one thing, but he should be a sincere. I mean, there should be some minimum qualification in all of those aspects. Very okay. So, Prabhu, I think it's quite late. We'll stop it here.
It's good because these upcoming verses are extremely
Yeah, they're very
They deserve
important.
a whole day.
Yeah, they are very important verses. I'm also not trying to unnecessarily. Prabhu is tired also. I'm feeling. Okay. Anyway, I hope you are liking the section and well, that's philosophical, but just trying to make it like understandable and exciting. Right.
Can I ask a question somebody said yesterday? Something.
Yeah, if it's okay, bro, can we do it the discussion during Prasad? No.